Shall we get started? Shall we get started? So for in the first session for today, it's already 9:30.
Recording in progress.
Yep, go ahead.
So first, in the first session we have two presenters. First presenter is Yushi Sugimoto from Osaka University. The title of his presentation is Boxing and the Remnant Movement. And our first presentation will be online. You see Sugimoto, you there?
I can hear anything in this, yeah.
Could you share the slide?
Sugimoto, can you hear me?
그쪽에서 안 들린다.
What about now? Can you hear us? Okay.
Okay, shall we start? Could you give a warm welcome with applause? Okay, it works.
Professor Sugimoto?
Okay, now it works.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, should I start the presentation?
yes, please.
Okay, so I think I can start the presentation. Okay, let's see. Okay, so thank you for inviting me for this conference, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this work. I hasten to say that to add that this work is joint research with my collaborators under Sugimoto and so this is just my own single author work. So yeah, and also I think I should notice, inform that this work is kind of in progress work. So you might find the analysis is a little bit sketchy, but I hope this is okay for this conference. I mean, the current framework is always very dynamic and hard to sometimes understand. So, and I hope we can discuss after this presentation. So, okay, let's see. So the title of this presentation is Boxing and Remnant Movement, and you can tell we're going to adapt the current or latest version of this the framework and the change in grammar. And also, as you can tell from the title, we're going to deal with the Remnant movement. So basically, what we want to try to do in this presentation is I'm trying to answer the question: how do we explain the Remnant movement under the current framework? Okay, so let's see. So for the synopsis or summary of this presentation, I will just say it at the beginning, so you won't lose where I am. So first, I will very briefly review some important apparatus that I'm assuming here, and introducing Chomsky's 2023 framework, the New York framework, which I call the NC system, and system and trying to explore examples of Remnant movements. That's the gist of this presentation. So, yeah. Okay. Good check time. Okay. So my introduction, perhaps you don't need introduction for this presentation, but let me just go through the assumptions that we have here. First thing is we're assuming the line correctly, and we're trying to minimize the system. And let's say we have the merge, which is applied on the workspace. So we have this workspace-based merge. So typically, when we construct the constructors, we have two things to be the input of the merge, and we got the output. So, and we want to keep it minimal in this case. So we have the minimal yield, basically minimizing the accessible terms in terms of merge. That's what it is for this current merge system, I would say. And also, if we assume the merge without the minimal yield, probably it is logically possible to assume this kind of system, but it's not possible for the language system, human language system. Basically, in recall, there will be a recall problem with that, which kind of violate the island bases and different bunch types of lookout constraints. So we don't want that. So let's assume we have the minimal yield and workspace. So let's adapt yields. The number one. So cases of merge would be number two. So let's say we have external merge and internal merge. So external merge basically merge members of the workspace. So what you have is the output is set of xy. For internal merge, merge access. So basically, input is the member of workspace, and within that element, which is a term of, let's say, this one, you can take the term either x or y, but in case you the x in this case, okay, I think I looked at messed up the bracket, but yeah, that's the essence of the merge, and also you can assume here that we have the search. So let's say you find first the highest one, and you don't see the lowest one, which is the becomes inaccessible for merge. So overall, you don't add accessible term, so that we can keep the merge here. So the consequences would be we don't have downward movement type of things under the merge, this workspace merge framework. Basically, it will yields a bunch of accessible terms, which we don't want to have. So that's the one of the consequences of this type of merge. Related to this, number three, we also have for like Remnant movement. So we have this kind of examples of which picture do you wonder who Mary likes. So this is the example of Remnant movement. So suppose we have the embedded little B star effect base here, and suppose we move the subpart of this object who to the edge of the little B star here, and then you move the Remnant braid here to the edge of the little B braid. So, and what would be the explanation for this one? Let's move on to the next page. So, this part is again the previous studies from ES et al. And it has the explanation here. So basically, we have the workspace merge and PIC, the conditions. We should be able to explain the movement here. you can tell the bad one, the undemonstrable one in A. And also at the same time, we have cases where the movement takes place but seems to be okay. So that's example number 8. So we want to explain both examples. This under this framework, under the framework of workspace-based merge and USC, it's in as well, and Sumi explains how we can explain the 8 and 9. I will just briefly mention the explanation, but with the details. So, but suppose we have an abstract structure here, like 5A workspace 1. So in the YP phrase, we have X and Y, so Y is the YP. In the next workspace, you do the merge, and X moves out of the YP, so X is the here. In the workspace 3, the whole thing's YP moves to higher than X2, so this is the configuration of the Remnant movement in an abstract way that I explained here. So how do we explain, so if this configuration is bad, then we cannot explain the 9. So the difference between 8 and 9 would be the domain of or where the XP is. So for again, the abstract schema here is in 6 A and B. So 6 is so X basically moves to below the phase head, and the 6 XY moves to X2, which is higher than or across the phase head. So in this case, if we apply the phase integrability function here, X2 will be inaccessible based on PHC here. So in this case, what you can see or access is YP here. For the B, X2 will be out of the phase the PSC domain, so X2 will be active. In this case, X2 is accessible and X3 is accessible, so both are accessible. And also notice that these two things are not sigmotic each other, so that means we deal with multiple copies, which kind of violate or doesn't strictly follow to the minimal yield condition. So in that case, or the minimal yield principle. So in that case, this is going to be ungrammatical, and this one goes to grammatical. So that corresponds to 9A and 9B. So this visual analysis can capture 8 and 9 difference here. So far so good. So we can perhaps end the story, but for now we have the books or NC system. I'll go through the section 3. For now we have a more simpler and stricter version of the system. So we want to explore then, okay, how do we explain 8 and 9? Again, I will go through the foundation of the system, but rather I'll just kind of explain the relevant part for analyzing the Remnant movement here. So basically, the part, let's move on to section 3.1. So one thing we didn't have in or explicitly didn't have in the previous system, the workspace mark system, which is in section 1, is the restriction regarding the movement. here. So basically, when you do a merge, the external merge associated with the data roles, and you can merge associated with the discourse related function. So in the Chomsky's paper, he says Nixon's implicit segregation mean that whenever or when you do that internal merge, it carries a relation from proportion to the causal domain. So that means proportion is generated by the external merge. So you create a data structure here, and once you do the internal merge, the element goes to the causal domain, and we kind of dissociate that element from the proportional structure. So the basic idea of this is that you construct the data structure because we are dealing with the linguistic system or linguistic expression, so we need to have a data role related structure, and then you do the internal merge and you kind of generate the information related structure here. And once you do that, that element doesn't interact with the proportional system or the structure. And then he introduced the notion of the box. But that, what I mean by that is the element that is leading to the base of which as being put in box separate from ongoing generation. So if you do the internal merge to the edge of the phrase, you have the box element there. That means it's just dissociated with the proportional domain. And but later, at the phase edge, the derivation phase head will be can access to that box element. So that's the basic idea of the box system here. So that's a bit abstract. So let's see the examples like number 11. So it's the calculation here. So let's say we have the example of Johnson Jones. So two Johns are different. So and the object John moves up, and we have the calculation example John just up here. So in the box system, what you do is at the in the position of this little B star, John moves to the edge of the little B star head. So John is the box. I will just put the box box here just to show what is the box element. Again, there's no like data box data set of the box, but let's say it's just being in the basal edge and it's being internal merged here. So after that, it's not interacting with the derivation. So at the C phase, C sees the John at the edge of the B star, and it just gives some instructions. So you interpret John at the base edge of C and pronounce that function. So that's the system here. So the advantage of this system is that in the previous work, we had once, we had a statistic movement in the previous framework. So whenever you have the similar type of examples, you have a massive copies, like 12 A. Let's move on to the next page. So I will go through the details about how to create copies. The basic idea is that there's a lot of copy pair that you have to form, and there will be a lot of complications, like how do we make a copy, or how do you relate copies of each other's, and there's a lot of A and A bar collision interactions which we don't want. But basically, if you don't have a statistic movement in a current system like box system and like 15 examples, again the same type of examples, the part you just do the internal merges just once. So in the each phase, it's the same examples here. So once you move the object to the edge of the B star, you don't do any statistic movement, but at the end of the derivation, like way to say this is there is some sort of PSD effect. So that means you don't touch anything or you cannot do the merge at all. Once you do the merge, the base of H that related. So, and I will come back to this this point at the end of this call. Okay, so I think I'm spending too much time explaining the studies, but now I think we can deal with the Remnant cases. Fortunately, we are not the first one to propose or explain the Remnant movement here, so and I'll explain that. But basically, first, let's say we want to try to explain the examples like 16. So I would like you to win on it. So this one is what I call grammatical or good example or a case of Remnant movement. As I said, we're not the first one who come up with the explanation for the movement. We have Highlight City in 2024, and which I call case system here. So let's assume this approach and see how we can explain the movement. I mean, this example. I will go to the details and perhaps I misunderstand part of them, so I will just explain briefly what this is. So basically, this is naturally expanding the Chomsky's Creek paper system. So it's not a different system, but a little bit refined system in their own way. So first thing is, I'll just explain the different part from the system. So the first part is which moves to the strict logic or IP. So they try to unify the middle B star and C star system, and also try to simplify the system. So let's suppose in their system, which moves to the BPM IP. So that makes the element a box. So that's the main part of their system. Notice that in the original MC system, the box element goes to the base of edge. So that's the different part. Another important part, our crucial part is 18. So I'll just read this part. So if there are only two domains, proportionals and causal, if X is not in the proportional domain, it must be in the causal domain, and if it's in the causal domain, then it's accepted for the causal property. So this implies that even though perhaps suppose a certain element X is not internal merge, but if it's not in the proportional domain, then it has to be in the causal domain, so that should be accessible for the base head. So that's this part would be the important part when we explain the Remnant movement. So, okay, so let's move on to the example 20 here. So, okay, we can explain the example here. So suppose we merge, merge is that how likely to win, and we introduce equal head here, and after that we raise the joint here for the subject, and let's say we have the derivation here D. What do we do? So in the previous studies, what we can do is move this entire thing to the edge of the city. C, but notice that so this part is adjectival phrase, which is not data marked. So in this box system, we are not allowed to do this one. At least that's the MC system. So we cannot do that. So how do we do that? So if we go back to the this statement 18, it says again, if X is not in the proportional domain, then it must be in the causal domain. So let's say this is not data marked, so that means it's not in the proportional domain. If it's not in the proportional domain, then perhaps it's in the causal let's say we still stick to the KS system, and how we can explain this example table. Okay. So move on to the next page. So let's say we still stick to the KS system, and let's say the division will be in 22. So as you can see, so let's say we deal with the lowest in the V star phase. And in case system, the object moves to the state of the log VP. So first we do this movement. So the object NP2, so that is the mixture of group, it moves to the state of log VP. That's the system here. The next step would be 23. So let's say who moves to the edge of the face here. Notice that the box element itself is not accessible for merge, but the term itself is accessible, according to the chunk speed paper. So let's say it can move to be part of this basal edge. But in that case, we have root 3 and if we want here, in the later derivation, see access to root 3 and if we want. So let's say you can, so in the embedded C phase, who is access and pronounced there, and at the matrix close, see that access to NP1 and pronounced there. So it seems like nothing is wrong with this derivation compared to the fact that this example is unprofitable. So how do we deal with this example? So in the following, I have two possible derivations. It's kind of more explicit that we kind of explore what kind of derivation would be possible and which one can explain the example 21. So now let's move on to the NC system, not the case system. So original NC system. So what do we say about that? So now let's say for E4D. So NP2 moves to the basal edge here. So that means that just moved there. And also let's say suppose 1 moves to 3 to the basal edge. So it's kind of similar to the 23 configuration, except that the NP1 moves to the basal edge, not the straight log VP. So again, it seems like nothing is wrong with this one, which is going to explain the example 21. So let's go on to the next possible derivation that we come up with. So it's in the 25 example. So in this derivation, let's say we move foo 2 in the object position, position here, NP2. So foo moves to the basal edge in the state of label B star. So foo 3 is here, and let's call this a label bear here. And then NP2 moves to the higher part of the base edge. So NP2 moves to here, which I call NP1. So what is wrong with this, or what is the aim of this part? So as I mentioned before, we kind of had a proposal here that focusing previous transfer or focusing create the PSC domain. So suppose when we do the intermerge of group 3 here, we complete the derivation here. So that means, I have the explanation here. So in that case, since the configuration has to be formed within the same domain, so who1 and C3 can establish the configuration because once you intermerge, you apply the transport here. So we never have this actually the intermerge here. So that means there's no like configuration that we can apply, or we cannot have any this kind of configuration. So that means Q3 will be accessed in the following derivation, but that's it. So that means we cannot derive 21 example, which is desirable. That's the our analysis, the typical attributive analysis that we have for this sentence. And also, I think we agree that this type of transfer, the immediate transfer after the merge, is not originate our proposal here, but rather I think it goes back to K-Humanities degree of the transfer here that I think we should notice that part. Okay, so I think I'm not sure how much time do I have, but yeah, let's just conclude this presentation. So again, we try to explain Remnant movement under the framework of organization system or KS system, and we kind of explore which derivation would correctly explain good or bad types of derivation of Remnant movement, and potential proposal here that we come up with is perhaps the intermerge triggers intermerge to the basal page triggers transfer, or make the that domain intact or inaccessible for the following derivation, which explains the bad cases of the Remnant movement. So, okay, I think I should stop here. So, before.
Okay, thank you so much for your valuable presentation, Professor Sugimoto. We have 7 minutes for comments or discussions. Do you have any comments or questions? Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at the 23. This is just a comment. 23. So, say under KS analysis, NP1 moves to the spec of large V. Okay. So suppose who sub 1, you are assuming who sub 1 is now in closure domain. But suppose noun phrase is a phase. And if that is a phase, then this who has to move to internally to a certain place, namely closure domain. So for example, if the who sub 1 is at some higher position IN inside NP1, then next CQ, namely embedded CQ, will find NP1 wedge. That's minimal search find wedge. So all you can do is, I wonder which picture of who, that's externalized position. But then the second CQ, which is a matrix CQ, will find if the wedge is already, cancelled out or transferred or whatever, interpreted, then the who sub 1 inside the nominal phrase will be available for the higher phrase head. So you get the right the closure structure, namely, who do you wonder which picture of? And you can't have which picture of do you wonder who, because who sub 3 didn't raise to the higher spec, the star spec position. Do you see my point? But basically, if who sub 1 inside NP1 is already in the closure domain internal to the NP1, you get the right result.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, so probably really hard would be in this speech. I don't want to lose the details, but I think there might be like a complicated cases where first of all, like how do we deal with the NP itself? So perhaps we have, or probably this is not the direct relevant comments, but whether the NP itself is like a phase, so that's another thing. Probably first which B moves here and then B1 moves here. So that's the bad part of this equation. So perhaps there might be some possible way to derive some pieces and not the other pieces. So I'm sorry, I kind of a little bit messed up your comments, but yeah, I think that's what I have here. Thank you.
Okay, well, do you have any other questions? We have 2 minutes.
Yep. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a very brief comment or question. Actually, even in your analysis of movement within NP or DP, like the next page, your appendix, yeah, right there. You do not assume yeah, just above the now picture, yeah, there might be a little NP, right? So that actually the movement actually does not take place directly to the spec of DP. Actually, it dropped by the NP. I mean, like a function, NP. So that just like a VP spec or leader NP. So that at that point, it can be boxed there. So that in that case, what happens for for your analysis of the extraction from non-trace or DP? So there is a lot of discussion about whether even NP has a closer structure. So that in the case, we need to have a symmetric movement to within DP. So when you talk about extraction from DP, then you also need to talk about the kind of parallel internal merge within DP. Do you have?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I agree with you. And this, of course, presentation, I just only have this one, and I don't have announcements for that one. So probably I should think and try to explore that part as well. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, so time's up. Thank you so much, Professor Sugimoto. And shall we move on to the second presentation?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.